Hi there, and good afternoon. I'm John.
I'm Zen. And I'm Julie.
We're with C Nation, and you are tuned in to the 50 Days of Cannabis podcast, where we examine the cannabis laws in each of the 50 states.
Oh, hold on, John. You missed one.
I did. The District of Columbia is also included in this. We just thought 50 days sounded a little better than 51. Today we're looking at the cannabis laws in Connecticut. As far as cannabis users are concerned, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness isn't fully recognized in the Constitution state. While it has decriminalized small amounts of cannabis for personal use, and we applaud them for that, most of its related charges are felonies, and in some instances, mandatory minimum sentences apply. So, Zen, tell us what it's really like in Connecticut.
Well, the possession of 14 grams or less, that's a half an ounce, is a civil penalty. There is no possibility of incarceration on a first or second offense at this level, but be prepared to pay a fine of $150 or $500 respectively. More than a half ounce will get you up to a year and $2,000 fine.
So, tell us about their medical program.
Registered medical cannabis patients in Connecticut may possess up to a 1-month supply, but the state doesn't define a specific amount.
I'm going to talk a little bit about their medical program. Your 1-month supply prompted me to look into their program and see what it was really all about. And I love this 1-month stuff because it empowers the medical cannabis user, in court, in front of whoever that might say, that's too much. Well, it isn't. That's my 1-month supply. I kind of like these arbitrary amounts, but here's some numbers that are not arbitrary, and I really like them and find them positive. So Connecticut, and a pretty small state, not just size-wise population, there's not that many people that live there. Connecticut has 736 registered physicians who see potential medical cannabis patients in Connecticut to refer them to the program. And wow, are they referring them for reals. As of this recording, there are 19,654 registered medical cannabis patients in Connecticut. That's great. That's 20,000 people that have gone to see medical professionals, physicians. They have to be doctors in Connecticut, so they're actually seeing a doctor that's recommending them into this program. The state of Connecticut has responded properly by licensing those growers and those sellers. There are currently 9 dispensaries throughout Connecticut, all medical. There's no adult use there, but 9 of them, with another 4 producers of cannabis, so growers, and then further processing that, maybe down to extracts or edibles, etc. But that's awesome. But that is on their licensed side of the cannabis game. Jules, tell us about those unlicensed growers and sellers.
You don't want to be there.
No, you
so
really don't.
If you're the seller and the growers and you're unlicensed, just stay away from Connecticut. The seller distribution of any amount of cannabis in Connecticut is a felony, with sentencing ranging 5 to 25 years in prison and a mandatory minimum sentencing of 5 or 10 years, depending on how much weight is involved. Financial penalties fall between $25,000 and $100,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of money and a lot of years.
Any amount, mandatory 5 years. Wow.
Yeah, just don't sell it.
Yeah, it's a small state.
Keep in mind, if you are an adult and you're selling to a minor, 2 additional years are added to the imprisonment. So just do not sell to kids. Let's go ahead and talk about those growers. The cultivation of any number of cannabis plants in Connecticut is a felony, charged and informed by its sales and distribution statutes based on the usable weight of the confiscated plants. This is where we get real serious.
It is, and I'm going to take a minor detour. That's a pun. A minor detour to talk about selling to minors. It's a serious thing. We don't condone it. We don't advocate it at all. And, we talk pretty seriously about the school zone laws in the states during our podcast. This 18, they really spell it out there in their statutes as we were looking at them preparing for this podcast. They like to draw attention to the 18-year-olds and selling to anyone younger than that. And I think that has a lot to do with 2 things. Their school zone laws do not include high schools. and they don't include college campuses. And the state of Connecticut has decriminalized amounts of cannabis that are very popular with high school students. So I think these laws were really written, at least in part, to let 18-year-olds who, by the end of the school year, many kids at high school are 18, that yes, you're an adult, we're going to treat you like an adult, but treating you like an adult can sometimes mean very harsh criminal penalty if you commit a felony. And selling to a minor is a very serious crime in Connecticut. So specifically to their school zone laws, they have it broken down a couple of different ways. They do have a possession penalty in Connecticut, and a lot of states have dropped the possession in school zones, but they do have a possession component of their school zone laws, and any possession of any amount of cannabis within 1,500 feet of a school or a daycare will receive a term of imprisonment. Now, these are their words, not mine. A term of imprisonment and a term of probation with a community service requirement. So, that's a little strange that there's not an exact, term of incarceration, etc. But I think that the way they have that worded at least lets the person in front of the judge kind of go in and plead their case. Hey, I did have cannabis in my possession, but I was just driving through. I wasn't breaking any laws. I wasn't doing anything. And, whatever. So I think judges are interested in hearing why a person might be in possession, in a school zone. But they do not excuse their growers and sellers.
They do not.
In Connecticut. If you are charged with distribution or cultivation within 1,500 feet of an elementary or middle school, a public housing project, or a daycare center, you are getting 3 more years in prison added to your sentence. And we already know that the growers and sellers have mandatory charges of 5 to 10 years depending on the weight, which, by the way, Connecticut does what? They weigh their stuff in kilos for some reason. I don't get it. How European of them, though, I guess. But, 3 years. So you're looking at, rather than a 5 to 10 mandatory, 8 to 13 for growing or selling in a school zone. But, we don't have too much sympathy for these people. We always say it here, be an adult.
Be responsible.
Be responsible. Stay out of school zones. Connecticut has made it super simple. For a more comprehensive look at the cannabis laws in Connecticut, please visit us at cnation.com and click on the state-by-state link.
Remember, you have rights if you're arrested for any cannabis-related reasons. You have the constitutional right to remain silent until your attorney is present. If you don't have an attorney, ask for one.
Holla.
This is Zen.
And Julie.
And John.
With C Nation, bringing you a snapshot of the cannabis laws in Connecticut. Be safe.
Stay informed.
What they said.
Yeah.
The 50 Days of Cannabis podcast is a copyrighted production of the South American Gold Corporation.
We appreciate your likes and shares on social media.
Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at C Nation Channel.